Greetings, humans! This is another episode of Worldskills Stories in English. By now, you probably know what this is about. So, like the video and subscribe for more inside stories of the people who participate in the biggest professional skills competition in the world. Today we have the chance to talk to Pranav Nutalapati, Web Technologies competitor in the 2019 Kazan edition. Pranav were already mentioned in this series by Chirag in his episode. Hi Pranav, thank you for sharing your stories with us.
Hey Bruno, thank you so much for having me. It's a privilege and an honor to be here to tell my story.
It's an honor for us. Please, Pranav, tell us who you are.
Absolutely. So I am Pranav Nutalapati. In 2019, I represented India in web technologies for Worldskills 2019, and I won a silver medal in Kazan. Since then, I came to the US for my undergraduate in computer science, and now I'm currently working as a software developer.
Nice. And when you came to America?
It was in 2020 is when my college started. So I came to the US at the end of 2020.
Okay, so in the pandemics.
In the pandemic, exactly.
And how this affected your studies?
Oh, that's a fun question. So I did my first semester while studying in India. All of my courses were online and they were in the Eastern time zone, but India, as you know, is on the other side of the world. So I had like courses at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and I was sleeping until like 11 or 12 p.m. So it was really funny and interesting to be like completely nocturnal, but it was clearly not viable. So as a result, I came to the US and then I did the rest of my courses on campus. I think during the pandemic was honestly beneficial for me because like all the lectures are recorded and remote, so you can go back, revisit, fast forward. You have this like liberty of taking things at your own pace. But then the converse of that is that you also have to be a lot more self-reliant. If you lose track, then things just slip away and you won't get to like make progress on anything. So double-edged sword as always.
Nice story. Cool.
Thank you.
It's a nice collateral story because
Yeah.
it's not even word skills related. But when did you first hear about the competition?
I guess it makes sense to talk about when I first started doing web development. I've always liked solving problems. So in 2013, I was 11 at the time. My parents put me into an intro to web development course. The course was like primarily focused on basics, like HTML, CSS, a little bit of JavaScript, a little bit of PHP, just enough to like dip your toes in the field. But I was just like really interested by it. And I think part of the appeal of this for me was that in web development, compared to like other programming fields, you very quickly start building things. You can put a box on the screen in like 2 lines of code. And that's not comparable, like, or rather, any other language takes a lot more effort and a lot more understanding. So with web development, it was like a very intuitive and interactive development process. And I think I enjoyed that a lot. So once I completed the course, my instructors told me about this competition called Worldskills. It was extremely undersold to me. They said, it's a contest, you can apply if you want, it seems cool. And I was like, okay, yeah. And I didn't really know what I was walking into. But this was for the 2014-2015 Worldskills cycle. In that cycle, I made it through the regionals, and that's actually where I met Chirag for the first time. And then I made it to the nationals, but then in the nationals, I was eliminated at 6th place. But I knew that just from the adrenaline rush of competing, that this is something I wanted to do again.
And how long was your course?
The course, I believe, was about a year, but also I was 11 or 12, so my memory is a bit fuzzy on the exact.
And you had one teacher or multiple teachers?
This was just one trainer.
Okay, and this trainer, how he knew the competition?
So the organization that my trainer was working at is also the same organization that was handling the regional round for South India. Or actually, I believe they're handling web development across the nation. I think that's correct. So the organization that she was teaching at was also the same one that organized this contest. So I'm sure like internally they knew a lot of the details about it.
It's interesting to hear your story because I don't know if your colleagues were young as you.
No, I was the youngest by far. There's a video of me somewhere on the internet. I'm like 3 feet shorter than everyone else. Because like everyone else is like just entering into college, like, 18, 19 plus. And I was 12 when I made it to the nationals the first time. So it's really funny just like that juxtaposition. But yeah, I was youngest by far.
Nice. I remember in 89, 1989, I accompanied my mother because she was an accountant and she always did everything on datilographic machines and everything like that, and the
Mm-hmm.
paper reports. And she was enlisted to a course, and I could accompany her to a course of a personal computer. But it was all in the green screen and all with code like C, 2 points, bar, everything like that in 89. And I was the youngest because it was all adult course, but I was accompanying my mother, so I learned a little bit of CD, 2 points format, dear, everything like that in 89. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's actually really amazing. I'm honestly fascinated by like the early era of computing and like how little resources there were on the internet, but then also simultaneously how much people built at that time. It's actually kind of unbelievable how much like people were able to build just by trying things out. And that's just like really fascinating to me.
What about specifically about your skill? What can you tell us?
Yeah, absolutely. So my skill was originally called web design and development, but then it got renamed to web technologies. Essentially, it's all things related to web dev. So when I was competing, we had stuff on the front end, the back end, some WordPress and like CMS stuff. But then we also had like design modules. So like they would give us a prompt and we would have to design a website for a certain organization. So it was essentially all encompassing like anything related to web dev.
And how you differentiate, because you are a student, I think you were already exposed to some context of web technologies in the real world, in the market.
Not at the time I competed. At the time I
No, no, no,
competed,
no, not that I mean you competed.
okay,
Right
yeah,
now,
yeah, yeah,
you
sure,
have some idea.
yes, absolutely.
So how could you differentiate the skill in the real life in the market and the skill applied to the competition?
In Worldskills, I think probably my an interesting perspective that I've realized is the test projects, at least for web tech, are doable by almost everyone there if you give them enough time. The challenge and the complexity of the contest is that you only have 3 hours per module and you're not allowed to look up things on the internet. In your average day to day software development job, neither of those is true. You can take as much time as you need to and you can use all the resources that are available to you. So it's really interesting, and I think honestly going through that world skills process has given me a more fundamental understanding of what's happening, because essentially for 3 hours at a time you're put into a black box that you're not allowed to reach out of, and you need to figure out what's happening in there. So in order to do that successfully you need to build a very strong fundamental understanding of what's happening under the hood, and I think that like translates really well into day-to-day work even though it doesn't seem like it should.
Nice. I think it seems to me like it's also a focus exercise.
100% it's a focus exercise because you need to stay basically completely locked in for 3 hours because you don't have time to get distracted, because if you get distracted you lose time and your time is your most valuable resource there.
Yeah, I think this later you can transpose this kind of skill that one develops in the competition to the real world, to the market.
Yes, absolutely. I think when I'm working on like something that feels a little more boring at work, what I like to do is I like to start a timer and like pretend like it's a world skills module or like part of a world skills module. And as a part of the whole preparation process, I got really good at estimating how long it would take me to build something. So I like to keep on testing my estimates. So I'll be like, oh, new feature, that's going to take me exactly 1 hour and 7 minutes. So I'll set a timer for 1 hour, 7 minutes and see how close I am. And it just makes it more interesting and fun.
Cool. You are literally competing with yourself.
Exactly.
Cool, cool. And your international experience, how was that?
So, as a part of Worldskills, I visited Abu Dhabi and Kazan. Honestly, both of those places are just amazing. Abu Dhabi has incredible architecture, as you know everyone's aware and familiar with, and then Kazan itself is also just this like really nice, cozy, calm place. And it's a really like big change of pace from Bangalore, because Bangalore is like super busy and bustling, and everyone's always going somewhere. But in Kazan, there's like big, open, empty places, and you can just like walk around and breathe in the air. And it was just like really peaceful. But I think the best part of my international experience was the other competitors. As a part of World Skills, you'll meet all sorts of really cool and extremely talented people. because by definition, the fact that they're there means they're the best of their nation. And a lot of them are just like really friendly. Obviously, in the contest, there's going to be, friendly competition. People want to keep their secrets to themselves. But after the competition, or like after in between every module, it's really worth taking that time to get to know your competitors, because after the 4 days of the competition, they'll become your friends. And they're just like really nice, cool people to know.
I think it's very interesting that people can watch all of those episodes that I'm recording, so they can learn everything that is different about their culture and their experience and the countries they went. But I think it's awesome that they can see everything that intersects between everybody, because like you just said, everybody was so friendly, everybody was so cool. Anna from Russia said the same. I think Chirag said the same. Remembering all of other episodes, I think everybody was always saying something like that.
I mean, that's because it's just fundamentally true. Like, one of the biggest takeaways from Worldskills, medal or not, is the people you meet there. So it's just amazing.
What highlights of the whole experience could you give us?
So for me, I think tying back into that people point, the two biggest highlights of my Worldskills experience were Chirag and Advaith. So Chirag, as you know, is the person who represented India for web development in 2015. After that, I reached out to him for guidance, and he would just spend so much of his own time, his own free time, trying to help me improve. And I think part of it is that when you're competing in Worldskills, you're not just competing for yourself, you're competing for your country. And I think that's a big highlight, is that now everyone around you wants to support you because they're supporting your country. They're not just supporting you. So definitely working with Chirag, learning from him, all the feedback that he gave me, that's a massive highlight for Worldskills. The second one is Advaith. So for that, you need a little more context. In the third time I competed, I won the national round, and Advaith was the person who got second place. So what India did is they took both of us and put us in this like extended 6-month training course. I'm from Bangalore and Advaith is from Kerala. So after the national round, Advaith and I were both taken to Delhi, where we were trained for another 6 months. So we were living together for a period of 6 months, and we grew very close together. He's another like lifelong friend that I've gotten just as a part of this experience. And I think it's, again, really funny how like the people who you're competing with are like, oh no, they're your enemies, they're your competitors. But that's just not the case. It's all about friendly competition, about doing the best you can do. And a major part of that is having someone to compete against. So for me, it was like Advaith and I were just pushing each other to be better. That's another like big highlight for me.
Nice. When I got the gold medal in Brazil in 2001, Rio de Janeiro was gold medal and São Paulo was a silver medal. I was in São Paulo working, and the silver medal called me to work with her on the agency she was working in, and I spent 10 years working in that agency, and I became most of the designer I am today because of the experience of that agency, because of the silver medal.
That's actually incredible, yeah. I have like a kind of a similar story. Like well after Worldskills, when I was in the US doing my college, the competitor from Finland actually reached out to me to ask if I was interested in a part-time opportunity at like a startup. So as a part of that, I did like a part-time for a semester just as a result of meeting these cool people at Worldskills. So yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah, because having participated in Worldskills, you have like a seal of approval, a certificated seal that you are competent in what you do. So it's easy for someone to reach out and, oh, I can count on this guy.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so just another funny story. I used to live in Rio and I just went to São Paulo. I changed city and went to São Paulo just because my expert that went with me to Korea called me to work with her. And then when I stopped work with her because the project ended, the silver medal called me and I started working in this 10-year agency. And then because I train people and those competitors knew me, they refer me to other people to give lessons and everything. So I give lesson to one girl. This girl work in Decathlon and she passed a freelance job to me of Decathlon, and then Decathlon saw my work and invited me to spend 1 year in France to work in Decathlon in France.
Wow, that's awesome. So like going all the way from like Sao Paulo to France, just just through a chain of people.
You can frame your life in different ways. As you live, you look back and you frame in different ways. But I can do this cut and relate the competition with my trajectory. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's incredible.
If I ask you a bad, a negative, or a learning experience situation, what you would say?
I think my only negative, and honestly not even negative, but more bittersweet than anything, experience is getting the silver medal. I know it's funny to say now, but like if I remember like I went through the scoring results and in the scaled score, the difference between silver and gold was 4 points on the scaled score. And that got me thinking, how many tiny half a mark mistakes did I make in the last 4 days? If I had not done just two of them, then maybe that would be me in the gold podium instead. So it's a bit of a bittersweet experience because obviously silver is still an incredible achievement, and I'm extremely proud to have won the medal for my country. But I'm always going to be thinking, what if I spent my time just like 30 seconds slightly better doing something slightly, more improved.
Yeah, but don't worry about that because it's a minor thing. Because you don't have you have regional, you have national, you have international, but you don't have universal, so you are not missing anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think I said this in Anna's episode because I won two medals. I won a bronze medal for graphic design, and I won best of the nation because my grade was the highest of Brazil in that edition. So I have two
Nice.
medals, but I would change both to be on Champions List.
Honestly, yeah, I think that makes sense because like as time passes, the medal is it's still a medal, but you take the people with you.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And medal is luck because a lot of variables coming together. And if you train hard and you train a lot, that really doesn't mean a lot because everybody's there probably trained a lot. But I was a silver medal until the last day. And then the Singapore did an illustration, did something very artistic, and got the silver medal, and I went to bronze. But I do
Ah,
not resent myself because I thought he was amazing. And I think,
right.
whoa, good that he won silver.
Yeah, no,
I
definitely. Like if I take a moment to go back and look at my competitors' works, it's like I understand. I understand why everyone is where they are. Like this makes sense.
yeah. And I think this will be easy. A good, a positive, or emotional situation for you.
I think obviously medal winning is the most emotional situation I've had in the last 22 years I've been alive. But second to that is probably winning India Skills in 2018 because that was the culmination of around 5 years of effort. Because the first time I competed was in 2014, and since then I just spent so much of my time after school just training and practicing. And I remember like giving up, just playing video games with friends in exchange for actually getting better and trying new test projects and stuff. And again, I want to shout out Chirag for this again because like he was a massive part of that. My entry into web development was through programming. So as a result, my designing skills just did not exist at the start. So, like a lot of Chirag's feedback was actually just like him circling areas of my design in like a red, with a red marker and being like, change this, make this better. And it gave me this like internal eye for design where I'm like, oh, this actually looks bad because of this. And once I'm able to do that for my own designs, then I'm able to self improve essentially. So, building up skills like that over 4 years, 5 years, all of that culminating in that final medal win, I think was just a really big moment for me.
Cool. And a funny or unusual situation.
For web tech, we technically only have 6 modules, and there are 4 days, so 8 module slots. So what they do is on the last day they made it a team project, which is just worth 2 points for participation. But you essentially just pair up with other competitors from other countries and build something cool. What we ended up building was a program we called Be Your Own Expert. So we went around taking photos of all the other experts' faces and then put it inside a face morpher. You can like essentially wear the face of other countries' experts and talk like them. So that was our team project, and it was like really a fun thing to do. I remember a lot of the experts were like really confused about why we wanted their photos, but it was just an extremely enjoyable experience.
It's interesting that you said that because when I competed in Brazil, in the national, there was one task that was do a banner, social mindful banner about a campaign so people can quit smoking, something like that. And I went to the experts and could you give me a cigar? And I took the cigar and put on the scanner because this was 2001. There was no anything that you could get an image. You have to scan a photo. So I didn't have a photo of a cigar. So I went to the expert and said, could you give me a cigar? And I grabbed the cigar, put on the scanner, got the picture and did a whole banner with a concept, and it's part of why I won the gold medal. So
Oh wow, that's awesome.
yeah,
It was also really funny asking for a cigar in a don't in a stop smoking banner.
yeah, okay, yeah. And how the competition affected your life?
It affected me in very interesting ways. Having competed in web development and currently working in web development, you would think that like skills I built for Worldskills would directly transfer to my current job. But interestingly, I don't think I'm using any of the technologies I had to learn for Worldskills. Because the time I competed, I used Angular, Laravel, which is a PHP framework, WordPress, and then I learned Illustrator as well. But then at work currently I'm using like React, Node.js, Postgres. Like they're completely different. But what's really strange is anytime I've wanted to learn something since Worldskills, it has just felt familiar. I think the biggest skill I got from Worldskills, just like silently building in the background, was the ability to learn. It gave me the toolkit I needed to like self-teach essentially. So when I needed to pick up React, I was able to just like read through the documentation, like understand it, and then start making things. And I don't think that's like just a part of your standard learning process. That comes specifically because of the way that Worldskills forces you to go down to the specifics. So that's definitely one of the biggest takeaways. And then the other one is again about time management, because again, it's all a time game. In software development, there's an ongoing joke that no one actually knows how long things are supposed to take. So when your project manager asks you for an estimate, it doesn't matter what number you say because you'll be wrong anyways. But I think, again, with Worldskills, that's not viable. You need to actually have an estimate because that's how you determine which parts of the test project to attempt first. So that's another like uniquely strange skill I have where I can say it's going to take 2 hours and it's going to take 2 hours. Those are like the two biggest takeaways for me.
And that's not about prediction or foretelling because it's something that you set for yourself. Because if you
Right.
say you're gonna take 1.5 hours, it's not that you are guessing. It's part experience because you know how you function, but it's also because you make this fit on that time.
Exactly. I guess on a related note, it's also like when you look at a test project, you're trying to not just read it, but also implement it in your head. You see the whole test project, and then if you're like well prepped, then within 15 minutes, you've already built it in your head. So then the next 3 hours is just typing it out. Being able to do that directly translates to, day-to-day work as well. Because in work, we get Jira tickets, which have like acceptance criteria and stuff like that. And it's the same idea of like there's text on a screen, please make it an application. So that's essentially what I have to transfer as a skill.
Yeah, actually, it's an ability that you must have because, for instance, in graphic design pre-press, the first thing I would do is the planning, like every competitor does, and I put 5 minutes planning because I said to myself, these 5 minutes I will just think about the whole task. And I do it with calm and everything, and I put every single step I would have to do, and then put the index time, and then I start the project. And it was very calm because I trained some competitors over the years, and I always said you must do everything you can during the training. You have to face your doubts, your struggle. You must do that on training. In the days of the international competition, it must be just a repetition. It's just the application of what you train. You cannot try to figure out anything on that day. It's just an
Right.
application of everything you went through.
There should be no surprises,
No
essentially.
surprises. Yeah.
Yeah. It's also really funny because, like, when you sit down and do the planning, it's like, okay, 3 hours is actually enough time. Like, it's not impossible if you think about it. But then if you're blindly going into it, it's always continuous panic because it's like, oh no, I only have 2 hours, 30 minutes left. Oh no, I only have an hour left. Like, you don't know truly how much time you need. So you end up spending so much time just worrying about it if you don't plan ahead.
And it's different when you say to yourself, I have 30 minutes to solve this. If you say to yourself, I have 30 minutes to solve this, you know what you need to do to get something done. It will be the best you can do in 30 minutes for sure. But
Exactly.
it's the best what anyone can do with whatever. No, and that's not the point. It's to
Yeah.
get done. And to get done on those criteria established in the chart.
Yes, exactly. I used to fall into this like trap of putting a box on a screen, shifting it to the right 1 pixel. How about 2 pixels? How about 5 pixels? And then I keep on going back and forth. And the thing that broke that cycle for me was having that time estimate. Because then it's not make this look perfect, it's spend 5 minutes on it and then move on. So that like prevents you from wasting time like doing things that don't actually have point value essentially.
Yeah, and nowadays, I don't know if you get freelance jobs. In some point of your life, you will do that, and those skills of the competition will apply extremely well because you give a price to a client, and this price means that you must work for 30 hours, 50 hours in this project, or if not, you will not be profitable. You will be a problem for you, not a source of income. Will be a
Right.
source of problems. So you will set for yourself, I need to solve this in 50 hours. So you will do that and you will maintain control of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
What would you say to someone who is experiencing the competition right now? As a competitor, as an expert, what would you say to them?
I think on the competition side, it's important to realize that it is at the end of the day a competition with a specific set of rules. And in order to perform well, you are limited in how much time you have. So if you spend your time trying to do the best thing globally, that will not be the best path forward. You need to spend a lot of time understanding exactly how it is that your work is evaluated. Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to point value. It's not whose work is better, it's whose work scored more points. And there are certain discrepancies in like a marking criteria where like, oh my god, I spent 30 minutes on this feature and it's only worth a point? In a 20-point module, how does that make sense? But that is the nature of the competition. So that whole planning phase and understanding how the test project is set up is the most important thing you can do.
Thanks for that. I always say to people that the competition is not that you are the best web developer, you are not the best graphic designer, you are not the best cooker, you are the best competitor.
Exactly.
Because to be a competitor is to understand the criteria, the points relate to those criteria, and match those points.
100%. And then another aspect of like competing is keeping your cool. Because like if something goes wrong, you shouldn't like panic and worry. I kind of have a story related to this as well. In Worldskills on day 2, I grossly underestimated how much time module C would take, which is the first module of day 2. What ended up happening is I spent more time than I actually had on features that didn't matter. As a result, I was unable to complete a significant portion of it. I think looking back at it, maybe around 25% of the test project I had to just leave up for grabs. I think if that had happened to me 4 years prior, that would have just crushed me. Like that would have been the end of my competition run. That is not a good thought process to have. A very specific skill is being able to box up every module into its own separate box. Because I may have failed module C, but that has no existing effect on module D. So it's important in that 1 hour gap between the two modules to pick myself up and be like, it doesn't matter, it's over. I still have another 3 modules to show what I can do. Having that like level-headedness and that Zen mentality is very important, I think, as a competitor.
Okay, so there was anything that you experienced or you think people should know that you want to say, that you want to speak out?
Just one other thing. It was very intimidating for me, being the youngest competitor in all 3 times I participated. One thing that just sort of kept me going is that this idea that age is just a number, it doesn't actually truly mean anything or matter. It's all about the skills you build and the passion you have. So if you're interested in something, just go for it. Make sure you try it out. Believe in yourself and like commit the time that you need in order to improve.
Nice. That said, for people who are watching, if you can wait, because you have an age limit in Worldskills.
Yes.
If you can train for more years, if you have this opportunity, do it. Because
Yes.
you only get better and better and better. So if you can choose, because sometimes you cannot choose, but if you can choose, choose the training for a long period of time, and then you go compete. When you are age limit, you compete.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think a big advantage I had going into it was the fact that I've had prior experience with competition, like relative to the other people. So definitely agreed with that. Having the extra years actually does help a lot.
Yeah. Pranav, thank you very much for doing that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Bruno. It was again a pleasure to get to talk through my story.
Thank you. Thank you for coming this far. Thumbs up if you like it, and I see you in the next episode.